Good morning. Thank you very much for this excellent opportunity to discuss one of the important topics of space exploration to benefit the humanity on Earth. It's a very, very vast area, and I've been given half an hour. Hopefully, I should be able to do justice, trying to tell you what we are going to do. On the screen, what you see is, as far as the space exploration is concerned, one of the greatest instruments that you have put in orbit. All of you know that. I've just brought it, the kind of exploration that is going on and the technology developments that are happening in the globe. I thought this is just one true representative of the bringing one of the sophisticated instruments to really explore as much as we can. And of course, the other details you will see on the screen in terms of the launch date, this cost. Of course, it was started with very low cost, but at some point of time, the cost has to go up. I'll come to that a little later. And already I think it has given enough and more. Before that, the Hubble telescope was there, that also has helped us vastly in exploring many things and then increasing our knowledge in several areas. This, I think all of us know that, today there are very few spacefaring countries who have really mastered the exploration in terms of different fields. When we talk about humanity and helping them, I think what is important is how we are able to really help the common man all over the globe, not just only spacefaring countries like who have the capability, maybe elite 5 or 6 countries. But then I think the whole idea behind that is we should reach out and then try to help the whole humanity, and the level of living and those things have to improve. And you can see that I will not go into the circle, whatever is shown. I'm sure you are all familiar with that. But what is important is it's not complete by itself. It's only representative. Otherwise, today you name any particular domain that is serviced by space in some form or other. That's why what you see on the left corner, outer space for humankind, but touching every domain needed by humans. I think this is where our ingenuity of all explorers, technologists, scientists, where you can think and then utilize. And particularly, I would like to say that today, not only in helping various technology areas, but then try to bring it into the governance. I think you would have heard last 2 days, I also heard how the space is being utilized very widely, very extensively for governance. I think that makes our life simpler, accurate, and also able to reach out to the people as quick as we can. And right on top, you can see that understanding the universe better, I think so many centuries have gone, so much of effort we have put in, but then I think a lot more we need to learn. This is where we must do that. But what is extremely important is look at the inner circle, that today the space exploration is able to really contribute very crucially to meet the sustainable development goals defined by UN. I think 17 of such them have been given. There are something like 160 plus work packages. In fact, each one of them today, space is able to address that and then bring the needed results. But what's most attractive is no other technology, no other exploration in the globe has inspired or attracted the younger generation. Particularly, wherever you go, the moment they hear the space activity, space exploration, the youngsters, they get excited. In fact, this is one of the very important contributions, in my opinion, where the technologies, science, and exploration have brought in the interest of the younger generation. That is very, very important. Now, let us just take a look at. Okay, now, if we really look at what is important is how really the impediments which have happened in the country or all over the globe for space exploration. In my opinion, this is very important because we may have ambitions of doing many things, helping in several instruments, other things. But then there are two important factors. That is essentially what we call as significant impact on schedule, cost, and volume. These things happens because there is a restriction of taking anything into the space in terms of mass and volume. And I just mentioned right in the beginning, James Webb Telescope is one very good example. I'm sure some of you would know that the initial estimates were something like 550 million in 1997, and it really went to 10 billion. This is just to tell you the kind of complexity involved, the kind of cost, kind of efforts that are involved in space exploration. And important thing that we need to remember is that essentially in all space arena, what is very difficult, what is very complex is trying to control the mass, volume. These are the things that really brings, and when these constraints come, you cannot cut down the performance, but then it's important for you to really meet the requirement, and in the process you increase the cost, and these things happen. What are the crucial aspects of outer space for humankind? Of course, it has to be an open exploration, and the important factor is utilization should be by all countries. I think that is the underlying principle, no matter where you are, whether in Africa, whether in South America or elsewhere. How do we really distribute the benefits to everyone in a proper manner? Then definitely should provide the benefit no matter where you are, what you do. In terms of each one of them we have told, and it's happening today, in terms of providing the satellite, providing the ground system, providing the application program so that they are able to utilize for their own, for improving the level and life of human beings. And of course, while we talk about exploration, it also includes the moon and celestial bodies. And underlying principle is we must use it only for peaceful uses. I think that's very important. But then there are certain important aspects which are given is that the states are responsible for national space activity, whether it's governmental, non-governmental. I think people should understand that. That is extremely important. Also, they are liable for damages, if any, caused by on the space objects. So, in a nutshell, why space exploration for all? I think that is the theme on which we need to work. If we do that, it becomes very important. The first and fundamental thing is how do we really enable the scientific advancements in a calibrated manner to benefit each and everyone. It's not that we are trying to compete with one another, but then we need to build the scientific advancement depending on our requirement and need. And today, I think last 2 days, I have heard the kind of economic opportunities that this creates space exploration is something phenomenal. I'll come to that a little later. And as I already mentioned, I think this keeps the interests of our youth alive. More than anything, if you really look at the kind of technologies which have come and gone of different sectors, different space is the one which really has triggered the innovation to the maximum extent. Not only for benefit of space themselves, in other common areas also. Of course, another thing is, really if you look at the kind of international cooperation which has emerged, which also has been discussed at great length in the last 2 days, is the space exploration. Of course, this must be known to everyone, but then for the benefit of people who do not know, I would like to mention this. What is important is, our entire governance is sort of regulated by the treaty which was done in 10th October 1967. It is 58 years ago. Until today, I think it's being followed and this dictum is taken very seriously. There are sort of 4 important aspects which have come out of that. Is that it acts as a foundational pillar for all multilateral space government. I think it is extremely important for all of us to know. And it's an international agreement, as I already mentioned, for the peaceful use of space and exploration. And I think nuclear weapons, it is prohibited, but then we keep hearing now and then, no, it's our national interest, we would grow. But I think if you really consider the humanity at large and long-term perspective, one has to really debate and then see that that doesn't happen. Then, of course, no provision for claiming the sovereignty by any nation over celestial bodies. This is something very important. Now, the next slide is the one really to tell you, it's not to say that we launch so many. This is just to tell you in one slide how the space exploration has increased tremendously. It just gives only the launches by year, starting from the very beginning, 1957 to as late as 2024. What you see somewhere in between, you will see a slight peak. That was the era of Cold War, and you all know that there was a very, very fierce competition between two great nations, and but then it came down, focus shifted to really how to help the common man, how to really utilize our efforts towards benefiting the common man in terms of agriculture, in terms of fishing, in terms of many other things. But what I would like to mention is, you take the last 4 or 5 years, there is a tremendous surge in launches. What does it mean? It only means the efforts on the space exploration has increased tremendously, and already you can see the nature of the curve is almost exponential. And on the left side I have given that it was 2023, it was 223 orbital launches, but then 2024 you see it's 262. There's again quantum jump, and out of which you can see that almost 145 launches have happened by SpaceX alone. I'm bringing this point essentially to drive home that the kind of private agencies coming and getting into the picture, you can see that it has a multiplier effect, and the efforts on space exploration has increased. And when you have so much of increase in the space exploration, the benefit that you are going to derive also will be substantially higher. And how do we do that? See, this is a very interesting thing, that if you really look at the evolution of air travel, space exploration, one thing is certain. On the left side, you will see the air travel, and what you see on the blue curve is essentially how many passengers they can carry over a period, and the green curve, what you see is how the cost of travel has come down. This essentially means any such very, very expensive ventures you do, it is important for you to be sensitive on the cost aspect. On the right, what you see is, it is extremely important for us, starting first one is the space shuttle, and you see the curve, what you gives is as a function of time, the year, the cost, how it is coming down. And I think all that colored lines, what you see, is the one where we are, and last one is SpaceX, where it has really brought down considerably the cost per kg for launching. Because, every country, we discussed yesterday and day before yesterday, how expensive it is. Only few countries who have the finance can do that. But then I think it's important for us, in order to really distribute our benefits to everyone, we must develop the technology to bring down the cost. That is extremely important. That's the message I wanted to give. Now, I think I mentioned to you about how it is integrated into helping the sustainable development goals. In my opinion, I think the space is one of the greatest contributor helping the sustainable development goals. What is required is, that has really driven us in terms of enhancing the space technologies as well as the generation of the data. That is very important. What kind of data you need to generate, what kind of payloads you need to develop, what kind of the transfer of the data from there to Earth, and then transforming them into useful data for everyone to look at it, particularly people who govern various activities. So that is extremely important, but all these things should be addressed towards taking the challenges on Earth. I think unless we link all these activities and development to challenges on Earth, be it agriculture, be it forestry, be it the ocean, be it weather, anything that you take, you have to link with that. And then you have to really bring down the cost on one side, develop the payloads on the other side, and take it further. Then, of course, we have seen there is a progressive leap. I'm using the word leap because it is just jumping one to another in terms of resource survey, disaster management. You can see the kind of support that it can give in the present day is something very important. Environmental changes. I think this is the one area that is being talked when we talk about the sustainable development, protecting the earth, protecting the humankind is something very important. Then, of course, our scientific understanding, how it's really getting enhanced. Then, of course, while we worry about the environmental changes, we have to worry about the environment, the space itself costs, particularly the kind of launches that we bring and then the kind of debris it creates, that also we have discussed. And I think I have just given a sample, some of them. For example, environment and climate, which is extremely important for the entire world, and we talk about the global warming, we talk about the future generation, and the kind of the vagaries that environment is causing today is fantastic. So that's where you can see that the systematic monitoring of the environmental changes, advances in technologies for better understanding of climate, so on and so forth. In fact, it's all listed there. This is where you can see that every area so much efforts have gone. And this is where one has to really see it is not just only the space and technology people. I think scientists come in a big way in terms of understanding the problem, in terms of defining the problem, in terms of developing the instrument and trying to put them together. And you can see the disaster management. Again, today I think it has really become so very simple in many of the countries, but then this facility is just not available in many other. I think that's where the UN has taken a very, very great initiative, trying to put together and trying to synergize our efforts. Agriculture, I think this is one area where today a lot of efforts have gone in terms of the crop yields, in terms of irrigation practices, water assessment and precision. This is where Israel has done very well, and in fact, people are trying to borrow from them and then see how we can really enhance our. So also on education. One can go on and on. I think just I wanted to give you an idea. And while we do that, it's important for space people to worry about disruptive innovations. I think unless we look at this kind of disruptive innovation, one breath you say you are trying to reduce the cost, another breath say you say that you are going to enhance the launches, third is I'm going to provide more and more space services to the humanity. How do you really do that? I will not get into the details. I'm sure that you are all very familiar with that. The efforts which have gone very well. In fact, on the right side top, what you see, all engines and all that. If you really look at it, I think I mentioned right in the beginning, the efforts are in terms of how do I bring down the mass to enhance the performance, to give much better result. Then how do I enhance the thrust for the same mass? These are the technology innovation that is required, and today it is happening all over the globe, particularly spacefaring nations. And I think if someone really wants to initiate the space development, I think they will have to keep these backgrounds into their mind and then take. That's how you can see that, for example, booster stage recovery, what SpaceX has done. I think it's amazing. All of you know that the kind of innovation which has gone, and that fellow comes and in the launch pad able to really arrest it with very least effort, almost hugging the spent stage coming back. It is something very important. Now, what is important, you can see that at the same time, the developments which have undergone, some samples are given, and again not to scale because then it's difficult to put them together. You can see that what's happening in US, what is happening in Russia, what's happening in France, and what's happening, and what you see in the loss. I think our friends have already brought out what is that we are trying to do as the new generation launch vehicle, where we enhance the capability, bring down the cost, and able to sort of go further in exploration. I think these are the things that we need to do really. Now comes what is that we are doing to the society. I think that's extremely important. When we talk about humanity, We talk about technology, we talk about the cost, we talk about putting together, but then the common man on the street would like to ask a question to the space community, what is that you are doing for us? This is the question our Vikram Sarabhai told right in the beginning when Indian space program was started way back in 1959-60. I think it was very difficult for him to convince the government at that point of time. He said, I'm going to improve the life of the common man in the country. That is the statement made. And today, if you really look at, apart from providing the services in host of areas, I think it has also brought out, I think many of you are aware, the spin-off technologies it has brought in a wide variety of areas. I don't have time to really discuss some of them, but then it has done great deal of services to the medicine, energy, communication, and if you really look at it, many things which have gone in a big way, be it material, be it some kind of instruments, be it some kind of services, all of them have gone. Then, of course, while all these things we do, I think we discussed yesterday or day before day on space debris, and I think this is something very, very serious issue. All spacefaring nations have to worry about it, and it, in fact, is a threat to the future space mission. It may not happen every now and then, but when it happens, and you have a very beautiful instrument put in the sky, you are in serious trouble actually. So that will create. And of course, I already mentioned how do we really try to reduce the pollution. But I think another important factor which has attracted the attention is, I think if you really look at the natural resources which is available on Earth is getting depleted, whereas population is increasing. How do we really bridge this gap? I think that's where you need to really worry about. I think there are enough evidence, enough data available that resources that are available in the planets, other planets, the asteroids, comets, etc. That's one of the reasons you see that certain explorations have been done by Japan, US, and Europe, and then they are able to really reach. It's very difficult because a very small piece of volume and space, you are able to go there precisely, then try to extract the information, then try to extract and bring it back. It's all easier said than done. But then question is, it's all going to happen. Today's fiction is tomorrow's science, tomorrow's technology. I think we must remember that. And of course, already I mentioned international cooperation is something very, very vital. Without that, we will not be able to make any progress. It's important for all of us to do that. Then, of course, one important factor I would like to do is, space is an expensive business, risky business, costly business. But then, how do we really take public into our fold? I think this is some area we need to, this is where sociology comes, social sciences. How do we really integrate the requirements of the public in doing such advanced technology and once you are able to communicate and tell them that this is what I am going to do, this is how you are going to help you, then it becomes very, very important. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, that the cost is something important. We were discussing many things for a long time to come, but today I think focus has shifted from the various technological development, the services that you provide, the help that you can provide, but look at the national economy. And so the one what you see down below, I think as on today, of course this is all known data you will have, but then I would like to do, on top what you have done is, till we sort of geared up ourselves, put it in the first gear as far as the space activities are concerned, on the top, on the right side you can see that, and on the left how it was. Initial days it was all the government support, and only very few activities they were sort of being done by commercial, like communication, earth observation, and also some parts of the space exploration. But then today I think it has really moved to the entire private firms, public companies, and government in fact is trying to concentrate only on space science. I don't think you can expect any private operator or industries to concentrate on the space science development because cost is very high, or human space flight, for the very reason that the reliability and quality that you need to maintain and the infrastructure that is required is tremendously great. And of course, any technology demonstration for future, no public companies will venture into that. So 447 billion which is there by 2047, of course we have taken 2047 for the simple reason, this is our centenary year of our independence. You can see that it really multiplies more than three and a half times. And our ambition at India, what is shown in red down below, 2024 to 2030, from 2% where we are today, I think it's again being projected. Nevertheless, I would like to repeat that. I think why youngsters, they look at space. One is, of course, their own interest in innovation and taking it further. Second is really how to generate the economy and improve the nation's economy. That is extremely important. And of course, while we do, I also would like to mention that it is important for us to have some kind of guidelines for all the space exploration and to keep it healthy. One is, of course, it is important for everybody to kind of keep the economic and comprehensive database. Not only you keep it, I think you have to make it known to all stakeholders. Here stakeholders are not only the scientists, technologists, policymakers, the general public, all of them you have to take and then keep it transparent. I think once you keep it transparent, you will get the support, because without support you are not able to progress, and without public support you will not be able to get the finance, and you cannot really excite the youngsters to take up the projects. And what yesterday our Vinod was mentioning in terms of the startup companies, once we brought this awareness, you can see the multiplication of that. That in turn will link with the economy, that in turn will bring the welfare of the country, welfare of the people. That is extremely important. Then of course, it's also important that the decision makers are not just only stakeholders. Stakeholders are important to make a critical decision, but then it is also important for us to really bring all stakeholders to some extent, even in public, in decision making process. That only gives you effective governance. In fact, if you really look at it, the people who have succeeded, who are able to do very strong space program, although it is very difficult, because here, it's a two-edged sword. Because one place we derive advantage, another place you have to really spend a lot of money, a lot of risk, a lot of accidents happen. But then how do you really keep the activity going in a smoothless and continuous manner? It's extremely important. Then of course, they also generates a lot of contamination, because we are dealing with the propellants, chemicals and many other things, and explosions. All these things do happen, and we have our own experience on various things. It could be biological, it could be physical, it could be chemical contamination, but we need to address all that, of course. And of course, all that scientific discoveries and advancements we do in the research and space exploration have to be related to the policy and regulation. If you don't do that, if you don't put a policy in place, no amount of development, no amount of effort will reach out whatever. Because that's why everywhere, I think, our people also, they talked yesterday, I think Vinod himself brought the kind of policy that they have put in space in the recent past. That helped for people to look at this exploration. So these are some of the things that we need to worry and bring out some kind of very effective coordination between stakeholders. I think that's extremely important. Now, what is another area is, while we do all these various assistance to the common man, I think scientists are equally interested, because there is many unknown. I think there are a set of people, particularly in the science arena, who are interested. And it is a very long list. What I have shown is not just the end of that, but then some of them, like cosmic microwave background, accelerating expansion of the universe. I think that is something is being talked, but then if you ask a question, how exactly it happens, I don't think we have a right answer. And exoplanets, I think it is really being dealt very extensively and able to find newer and newer things. So we can go on and on. I will not dwell on that full length. But then fundamental questions, I think we are yet to get an answer in terms of how did the universe form? What are the laws of nature on extreme scales? Are we alone? Or life exists elsewhere. I think, every now and then something is being flashed here and there, tons and tons of money is being spent, but then we are yet to answer these things. Of course, this is all known. Just to tell you, I will not dwell here very quickly, but then each of the science mission, what it gives in terms of knowledge increase and the users that are there, on each one of them you can see that is all shown. Chandrayaan-1, Mars Orbiter Mission, AstroSat, Chandrayaan, our own program, and down below you can see in terms of publication, in terms of users, and in terms of new finding. It's not complete in all respects, but then couple of them I have brought it so that people will understand why we should really do the exploration. And of course, we have to continue further. That depends on the policies, that depends on the nation, and then trying to put together. You can see here in Lunar Lander and Rover, what it has done, Aditya L1, what it has done, and of course, ExpoSat, what is it we are trying to do. You can see the down below, whatever is shown in the box, is really we are trying to enhance the knowledge base. That is what is important. Then, of course, another important area that one must be concentrating when we talk about space is the microgravity experiments, and this is where, starting from International Space Station, tremendous amount of work has gone in, and lot of knowledge base has been increased. And some of them, what you can see here is basically in terms of the creation of materials, improvements in the drag, so on and so forth. You can see the combustion itself. See the one what you see here, how the combustion flame will look like on Earth and how it will look like in space. These are all these tremendous advantages one derives if you are able to go to space, and that's where they have done tremendous amount of research, and I think we should concentrate there. This is just to tell you one simple example of the studies on metallurgy. I am sure I will not bore you getting into the details, but what is important is, there are many aspects of metallurgy which is fundamental. Any technology you take today, the metallurgy and mechanical engineering, they are the base. Without that, you will not be able to make any big progress. And if you ask me frankly, there are only two technologies which are governing all advanced technology, particularly space. That is, one is propulsion, second is metallurgy. These are the two areas. That's one of the reasons I think metallurgy expansion. And what you see on the right is how the bowl will be look on Earth, and you don't need a bowl when you go into the space, because that liquid, whatever is there, it will create a bowl itself. In that case, the experiments you do will not have any contamination, and you will come out with the really path-breaking results. Of course, this is the last slide. I would like to mention here that, some thoughts to ponder over. This is extremely important. When we talk about the exotic ideas and exotic areas, it becomes very important for us to understand. For example, way back when the commercial flight happened during the World War II, people were wondering what will happen, and today I think you can see the whole sky is really cluttered. If you really look at the photo they take at any given point of time, it's amazing. Same thing happened with the IT, and when it started with just simple computer and all that. Today I think wherever I go, people, it's very difficult to talk to them because they are immersed in their mobile, because whole world is with them. That's what really happens. So I think I would like to mention that we still are in a very infant stage as far as the helping the common man is concerned. Maybe as a spacefaring countries who are advanced, maybe serving themselves, but then for the people who are elsewhere, who don't have access, who are depending on others, I think we have to give that helping hand and make sure they are with us, they are able to reap the benefits of that. I think that is extremely important. And like what happened in aircraft, what happened in IT, many other fields, it is going to happen in space. I think it becomes maybe 10 years down the line or 15 years down the line. The man on Earth cannot live without the assistance of the space. I think that is what is important, and we have to make sure that we reach out all these benefits to everyone, distribute ourselves, but then question is, are we prepared to be part of this history? And I think we all, as spacefaring nations and space community, ensure that that happens while we talk on many things. With that, I come to the end. Thank you very much.